Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Mesprit. Mesprit has very balanced stats, almost unsettlingly balanced stats. Either way, the stats are pretty solid though when we look at it. We have 105 on the attack, 105 on the defense, 105 on the special attack, and 105 on the special defense. This is going to give us some really good defensive options, and maybe the potential to go for some kind of mixed attacker, or at least become either a physical attacker or a special attacker. 80 on the hit points and 80 on the speed is just weird to me though, because Uxie is meant to be more of the tanky one, I guess, from just the way that stats are distributed. Yet Mesprit has higher hit points and lower speed than the tanky one. That's the one thing I find confusing, so I feel that that is going to be a problem with Mesprit's identity. That doesn't have as much speed as its counterparts, but it is going to still have a lot of potential just for damage and tankiness, so that's where things are going to get weird. Looking at its typing, it's a pure psychic type, and just the way that we talked about this interaction before, Bug isn't very common because it doesn't give a lot of diversity to coverage, so that could be a problem right there, but at the same time, Ghost does hit better over fairies now. Really, with the psychic typing and a pure psychic typing at that, you're going to be worried about knockoff, sucker punch, and dark pulse. So overall, our weaknesses aren't even that bad, and we do have that immunity to ground with our levitate ability, and only resistances to fighting and psychic, so it's pretty standard psychic fare. And now we're just going to go and hop into Pokemon Showdown. Mesprit is going to be pretty interesting, and we are going to see a breakdown with its identity, which is one of the biggest problems I feel for Mesprit. That only 80 on the speed means we're not going to find too many outspeeds. Say if we had Timid Scarf, well, Timid Scarf means we're only going to outspeed Greninja, but we're not going to have the damage to knock it out because of these 105s. Also, for a physical Mesprit, it's not that great either. It gets knockoff, it gets elemental punches, it gets power punch. It can put together some really excellent coverage, but it's not going to have good stab options, and it's also just going to fall flat with the 105 attack, even boosting it. You're not going to find enough damage to get reliable KOs on it, and that could be a bit of a problem. So overall, we're just kind of looking at high coverage for 2-hit KO conversions, or 1-hit KO if they are super effective. So with this, we're looking at the potential of just being bulky. That with the 105 on defenses, you're naturally pretty healthy, so that you just max out with a modest nature on that special attack, you go for the hit points, and then you just try to clock in as much damage as possible. With this, I was thinking that a Citrus Berry could be an option. That way you just become a 3 to 4 hit KO Pokemon, instead of a 2 to 3 hit KO Pokemon, and you just try to knock out as many Pokemon as possible. Mesprit is also really interesting because it's the only Pokemon of the Lake Trio that learns Ice Beam, so it's not even the hardest special attacker, it's not even the hardest hitter, yet it does get this excellence from the coverage. That if we go and hop over into the Pokemon type breakdown, that Psychic, Electric, and Ice is going to be really good. That 4 of 6 super effective hits, 3 not very effective hits, so we're going to hit everything pretty much neutrally, and that's going to be really solid. However, we can expand this, that with Grass and Ice, so say we go Energy Ball. Slightly more super effective hits, more not very effective hits, and everything else really isn't going to be as good. Ice and Dark means that we're going to have some not very effective, so we're still going to have to patch in some things there. And the idea of bringing Hidden Power Fire, now we're bringing some damage against Ferrothorns, we're bringing damage against Scizor, and we're going to be fairly tanky compared to the damage that they output. So it does put us in a position to where we can handle those Pokemon as well, but that is also going to be another problem. Hidden Power Fire. I do not condone cheating in any way. PK Hex, Power Saves, Genning, whatever. That's cheating, and it's not allowed by Pokemon, so I think that it's going to be pretty much simulator only, because getting a Hidden Power Fire Mesprit in the game can take a very long amount of time. Not saying they're all cheated, but at the same time, it's very, very difficult to get, so we might want to put in another coverage here like Energy Ball, still going to expand and give us very nice coverage. I mean, when you look at it, we have Psychic, we have Electric, Ice, and Grass. That just feels very wholesome on the inside. So we have the damage put out with that, and then it just keeps getting interesting. We can go Timid Nature, so we max out our speed, and now we're just looking to break down and outspeed a lot of Pokemon that are going to be in that way. And if we're going to be doing something like that, then that's when we go for Life Orb. Since we're sacrificing tankiness, we might as well go for the all-out damage. With the max attack, we're going to be finding a lot of one-hit KOs in the game. So if we use Mesprit once the opponent's sweepers are gone, or if we somehow have a sticky web set up, then it's going to be able to excel with this, because now we're getting some really good outspeeds, we're going to find really great coverage, and we're still going to be pretty tricky to knock out, that we can still be a 2-hit KO Pokemon, even without any tanky investment because of our natural defenses. That some of the Pokemon we've tried to turn into tanks, they don't even have 80 in the hit points, they don't even have over 100 in defenses. So Mesprit is still really pretty consistent Pokemon, then with the Life Orb and coverage, we can do a lot with it. Also, we can run Healing Wish. Healing Wish means that we might want to stick to the hit point investment. We can also go with the speed investment. The idea behind this is we use our coverage. We take a hit, deal a hit back, take a hit, deal a hit back. Well, that's going to be a KO on the opponent. Depending on how tanky we are, we might be able to survive. And then we use Healing Wish, which means that we get to put health back onto our sweeper Pokemon, that we get to remove status off of our win condition after scoring a KO or really doing a lot of damage to an opponent. So with this Healing Wish, we could also maybe find the setup Mesprit here that we can go with some kind of full tank investment potentially that, you know, whatever kind of EV spread and whatever you think your team needs. If you need a special defense tank, do it. If you need a defensive tank, do it. After that, we have Healing Wish, which means we can set up Stealth Rocks and maybe whatever other kind of status, Knockoff, and then Thunder Wave. That's going to be pretty generic and pretty default, and then we would say run a Bold Nature. That way we have more physical defense, and then we can just kind of set this up. Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, Knockoff, and then kind of wait for that mid game, use Healing Wish, heal up, have some status, have some items removed, and then the utility that this Mesprit brings is going to be pretty insane, but also Uxie does a pretty decent job at utility as well. However, I do feel that one of your best Mesprit options are going to be Chesto Resto. That what you can do is either go with a high special attack and high hit points, Calm Mind once or twice, use Rest, Wake Up, and then just kind of blow up your opponents from there. With the full hit point investment, you are going to be a pretty decent 2 to 3 hit KO Pokemon, most likely a 3 hit KO. So that means you use Calm Mind twice, you go into the Rest, you wake up, Ice Beam's going to have a high chance of 1 hit KOing, Psychic's going to have a high chance of 1 hit KOing, and then you just coast off of that. You know, you get your 2 KOs, and that's kind of it. It doesn't matter if you need to keep resting or whatever. Once you get the 2 Calm Minds and then convert into damage from there, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a 1-for-1 trade and a very likely 2-for-1 trade, which means Mesprit's going to be able to bring a lot of power to your team. Or you can also kind of play a bit more of a consistency game, run that Bold Nature, max out the defense, and then just kind of play it around that way. That you get your 2 Calm Minds, now you have very high special defense. Also with your defensive investment, you're very hard to knock out, so you might get 2 or 3 Calm Minds before you rest. And against special attackers, your opponent is really going to have a very hard time to knock you out. So that's when you just beat them down with Ice Beam and Psychic, and you might have the potential to rest, and then, you know, your opponent switches on to something physical, and you might be able to wake up and score some damage. So this isn't going to be outright KOs because we aren't investing as hard into our special attack. So we are going to lose a lot of points between the Calm Minds, but we might be on the field long enough to get more KOs from it. So that's just kind of what we're dealing with. I don't think Rest Talk is going to work too well. I feel with the extra coverage, it does give us options, and it doesn't really take away from too much. With Rest Talk though, it is kind of an option that we just bring Sleep Talk, and then we have to consider Psychic. Psychic is going to be our best damaging move, but it can be immune by Dark type Pokemon. So only use this set if you have some Fighting type Pokemon on your team, a lot of Fairy pressure, and you can pretty much almost always remove a Dark type Pokemon. If you can do that, then there's no problem bringing this, but if you are worried about Dark types threatening your team, then that could be an issue and you might not want to go for the full-on Sleep Talk, but it does give you those setup options with the Ice Beam, so that's just something to consider. And overall, that's kind of it. Mesprit's got some tankiness, got some damage. It's not completely broken in both, but you can find ways to augment that. Either a direct damage set, a Calm Mind set, or a mixed utility set with Healing Wish. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's how you use Mesprit. I feel it's got some power behind it, but we really need to build a team around it. There needs to be a lot of exploration with this Pokemon. If you dedicate the right amount of time and strategies to it, I feel it can be very rewarding, and that's something I want to hear back from. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have a nice day.